let the fun begin. And if you take a look behind me, you can see this tree literally snapped in half. Just to give you another indication of how strong these winds are, it knocked over this light pole.
The Grand Rapids metro area had a population of about 190,000 back in 1990. That's according to census data from the Michigan website. But today, it's a different story.
It's called net neutrality, or in layman's terms, open internet or equal internet. It goes through your internet the same way, the same speed, equally. However, if the FCC decides to relax its rules with broadband companies, those companies can decide which to let load quickly, say their own streaming companies.
It took roughly 4 or 5 hours for firefighters to come to Mike Jones's house.
Mother Nature is all around us, and we can see a lot of her charm as we drive. But who's responsible for her upkeep? We set out to verify if the Road Commission is responsible for containing Mother Nature's beauty from the roadways.
Juliet, earlier this afternoon, crews were outfitting 10 additional trucks to get ready to drop the sand and the salt out on the roads. Dan, DNR biologists are on scene. They're trying to secure the area, make sure they have enough room to tranquilize the bear. Oh, Dan, the bear just fell down.
It's up to the Senate now. In a 5-0 vote, the Senate's Judiciary Committee sent Bletch's bill over to the Senate floor. Only 2 people were opposed, a representative from the ACLU and a representative from the Criminal Defense Attorneys of Michigan. They are blood-sucking, small, and downright terrifying because they could be anywhere.
They could be out here, in here, and in here. Some models are indicating a significant amount of ice beginning tomorrow afternoon. With that ice, there's the potential for power outages, car crashes, and leaky roofs, which means many employees are on call this weekend.
Assuring parents that their students are safe at Rockford Public Schools. Between the many cameras, former law enforcement personnel, and shatter-resistant doors and windows, Scheibler says the school is taking the best precautions possible.
Yeah, and honestly, I was stuck in it probably about 25 minutes until I realized this is a little bit off. This shouldn't be happening. I don't think this is just the bridge, going through its cycles of opening and closing.
He has about 100 acres of apple orchards, so he's very concerned with Mother Nature's plans for tonight going into tomorrow morning. Something most pet owners are familiar with, bringing your dog or cat to the vet to get fixed. But how soon is too soon?
It is gorgeous outside, and if it wasn't for the fact that I don't know how to golf, I would be out there with those guys.
Taking a picture is one thing. Getting your hands on it is another.
You're welcome to come touch it, folks.
Why?
I want them to touch a new medium. It came out the way I had envisioned it when the first vision came. And when that emotion and that thought come together, oh, you hang on to that for dear life.
It's recommended you don't do this by yourself.
The best thing to do is call a professional to come in and especially diagnose if there even is pipes in the outside wall before you go cutting holes all over the place.
Keep your thermostat between 65 and 70 degrees or higher. No one is taking any chances. From a hardware store,
we're ready to go,
to the County Road Commission.
We'll have over 50 trucks be prepared to spread sand and salt on the road.
Crews are preparing for the worst. The only way in is through here. But you must check in with the office. Between the cameras, the emergency lockdown switch, and the windows.
those vestibules have shatter-resistant film put onto the glass walls.
Steve Kuman grew up here.
I've been farming for 20 plus years.
In fact, the Kuman farm is in the family. Crewer resumed searching for the Bissell's dog this morning.
It's a very popular walking trail.
He worries that Abby is hiding out of fear and the cold.
Abby, come on!
This is a big woods. I know there's a lot of wildlife in there.
It's no secret, the state of Michigan is growing in more ways than one.
It's been an interesting ride.
Just ask cannabis author Bruce Barcott.
I hadn't touched cannabis since college. It wasn't my thing. I was a, late 40s father of 2 teenagers. I had a lot of concerns.
That all changed after speaking to a friend.
She told me, look, nobody cares what you think about pot. This measure is about social justice.
On November 6th, 2012, the green rush began in Washington.
I wondered, oh my God, what have we just done?
Barcott was riddled with fear.
I had a lot of anxiety about teenagers having increased access to cannabis. That hasn't happened. In fact, we've seen teen use hold steady and now start to decline in Washington state. I was worried about drugged drivers on the road. That hasn't really happened. I was worried about having to smell cannabis all over the place in the sidewalks of Seattle, and that hasn't happened.
The world as he knew it was changing.
What we saw in Seattle and in Denver is that those two cities have continued to boom economically. They're just growing like gangbusters.
Michigan could be next come November.
They look around at other cities, they see that the walls haven't fallen, that society continues to go on as it had.
Although it's not a one-size-fits-all measure.
What works in California isn't the same thing that's going to work in Washington. It's not the same thing that's going to work in Michigan.
Barcott is hopeful.
So what I've seen of your ballot measure, it allows you to do that, allows Michiganders to decide how they want to handle this.
If the green gets the green light in Michigan, Barcott says the opportunities would be endless.
You know, a chance for a number of entrepreneurs to come into the industry and do this in a very legal way, to start up businesses. There's a chance for farmers to add this as a crop to their rotation. And there's a chance for both state and local municipalities to realize some tax money from this.
A very somber mood all across Michigan State University's campus in response to Larry Nassar's sentencing. Some girls on campus even took to the rock, a very prominent object here on campus, to voice their opinions, writing every single survivor's name that spoke during Nassar's hearing.
We spent so much time listening to them.
Amy and Patricia Davis were listening.
I really hope that they can dig more into it and get even more details so that, I don't know, justice can be served for exactly what had happened.
The twins know firsthand how popular Larry Nassar was in the athletic community.
Our coach recommended everyone to go to him because he was known for his medicine and for helping heal injuries.
In fact, they were his former patients.
Larry Nassar was actually our doctor. We both tore our bicep and had the same shoulder surgery, and my parents have been distraught about that because it was just our shoulders, but I don't know. He was such a friendly guy, and we never would have guessed that just because of he'd Facebook message us about our appointments and stuff, but that was the most contact we had with him.
They hope this rock is a symbol of hope.
For all the students to come together and bond over something that affects obviously everybody at our whole university and not only the victims, and yeah.
There's gonna be big changes coming, and I feel like we're all coming in together to do it.
Many students on their way to class stopping and taking a look at this rock behind me, paying tribute, paying attention, and listening. In Lansing, I'm DeSarro, WZZM 13 News.